The hardest question, I suppose, that most investors want to know.
It's important for us to ask the hard questions.
The question that I'd like to pose to you, ladies and gentlemen, are you a business owner or are you a slave to your business? Are you a business owner or are you a slave to your business? What defines someone who's a slave to their business? And I'm coming at this angle from an investment perspective. How many of us here today spend an inordinate amount of time wanting to make every single client of ours feel incredibly special? It's a very noble thought. But there's this saying, and my wife's told me 1,000,000 times not to exaggerate. She's also told me that cliches are old hat, but I'm going to go there anyway. Okay, clearly it's after lunch. Either that or I'm certainly not going to consider a secondary career post-retirement in stand-up comedy. However, we've heard the saying, don't sweat the small stuff. Now, ladies and gentlemen, in your world, what is the small stuff? Quite simply, the small stuff, the things that do not put money in your pocket. The sad reality, though, is we sweat the small stuff, and eventually it becomes the big stuff. And we find ourselves spending an inordinate amount of time doing due diligence, doing research, attending functions. Why? Because we want to give our client the very best that we can. Incredibly noble thought. But ultimately, the person who suffers is you and your business and the people in your business. Because in this quest to provide each and every client with a bespoke, tailored experience, we just put more and more and more pressure on ourselves. Because what we aim to do is grow our business. Now, ladies and gentlemen, there's two ways that you can grow your business. You can work harder, or you can work smarter. I'm going to take a leaf, or a page rather, maybe not, take a page from Karabo's book. And I'm going to ask you to all just close your eyes. Just keep them closed, and I'll give you an indication when you can open them again. Okay, you can open your eyes again. Was that fun? Not particularly, because you didn't know why I asked you to close your eyes. What passed in the time you closed your eyes was 30 seconds. Not a hell of a lot in the bigger cosmic scale of things. But I'm not entirely sure that Dirk or Guy are going to give me an extra 30 seconds at the end of my presentation. I cannot pay them to give me an extra 30 seconds. And that is the most precious commodity that you have, is time. Because if you utilize your time effectively, it becomes a lot easier to streamline your proposition to your clients, to make sure that like-minded clients are in similar portfolios, to ensure that your clients are all treated fairly and treated within the same framework as all the other like-minded clients in your practice. Now, how do you go about doing this? One of my colleagues earlier said, what is your call to action? What do people have to do when you finish speaking? Well, the polite thing would be sort of mild applause. But more importantly than that, come and have a chat about how we can solve problems for you, how we can create solutions that make your life easier, solutions that allow you to scale your business. Now, you might ask yourself, okay, it sounds like a lot of claptrap. Who is this bald guy standing on the stage, and what has he been waffling on about? I represent a business called Tailored Fund Portfolios. We are what's referred to as a discretionary fund manager, and we operate within the old mutual wealth stable. Now, what we do is solve certain key problems for financial planning practices. First and foremost, I think every single one of us wants our clients to achieve an outcome that is satisfactory to the client. Whether that is a return outcome, whether it's a lifestyle outcome, we want the client to get where they want to be. We want to do it within a relatively well-managed cost structure. Now, we can go about this one of two ways. We can do what I refer to as free-range investing. We've all heard about free-range chickens. Those are the things that you pay an exorbitant amount of money at Woolworths for. Free-range investing is where we allow you to go about picking portfolios, making sure that every single client has something that is unique to them. And if you've got 5 clients, that sounds like a wonderful idea. If you've got 500 clients, it resembles the aftermath of an English bulldog eating jungle oats. Not a pretty sight. Now, we can approach this from various angles. We can partner with investment partners and we can say, guys, build me something. Give me access to a bunch of asset managers that are there to achieve a goal for me. That's one way of doing it. The scary thing is, a lot of us look for asset managers that do things differently, and we put them together. That's an incredibly dangerous road to walk down, because we say to ourselves, if these guys are not doing the same thing at the same time, we get these uncorrelated returns. Sounds marvelous. Until we think about it realistically and we say to ourselves, what is our core job? Our core job is not generating returns. Our core job is talking to the client, doing financial planning. And if we know what we're there to do, then we'll also realize what we actually want is people that complement each other, where we have control over the elements that drive the outcomes. Now, a lot has been said about technology. I refer to myself as an elder millennial. I'm not an elder millennial. I'm a middle-aged guy who needs one of my kids to explain how my new cell phone works when I get an upgrade. But I am also possibly, and this is going to appeal to Dirk, the laziest person in this room. Okay? Now, in corporate terms, it's career suicide to refer to yourself as lazy, because we're all incredibly diligent and hardworking. I'm the laziest person in this room because I don't believe in wasted effort. I don't believe in doing things that don't add value. So, if there are some of you who aspire to the same level of laziness as I do, then perhaps it makes sense to engage in a conversation with myself or one of my colleagues across the country and talk about how we can manage our time better, how we can manage our investment portfolios better. And something that I found quite appealing, one of the previous speakers, well, in fact, even my namesake, I was quite impressed. I thought one of the criteria to be on stage was your name had to be Evan, because I see there were a couple of us here today. They mentioned the question of ESG. Now, ESG is this airy-fairy concept of being environmentally conscious and do good in the environment and have good governance in companies. If you're a pension fund trustee, it's important. If you're a retail investor, it's a bit meh at this point. However, part of our DNA has been to incorporate these elements in our portfolio construction from day one. Why do we do this, ladies and gentlemen? We believe that as fiduciary partners in your business, we have a responsibility to make sure that your client's money that is entrusted in partnership with ourselves to be managed on your behalf and their behalf adheres to the highest standards of fiduciary excellence, to make sure that these elements of ESG are incorporated. There's a poster that I had up in my office many years ago. It was one of these things that you buy at a shop that sells crystals and incense and plays all sort of ethereal music. And there was this Native American person on the poster, and basically said, when all the fish have been eaten and all the rivers are dry, you'll realize you can't eat money. And I think that speaks to the heart of sustainable investing. It speaks to the heart of what is becoming more and more important to our clients. So from Tailored Fund Portfolios perspective, we looked at it and we said, right, let's incorporate this and let's solve a couple of things. Firstly, let's help financial planners to be able to put their clients into portfolios that are there to achieve outcomes that they want. Let's make sure we can do this both locally as well as offshore. I mean, if we think local markets are complicated, we multiply that by an exponential factor. And then very importantly, and perhaps it's just important to me because, as I mentioned, I'm a middle-aged guy. What do we do with clients who are retiring? Because they provide a very specific set of challenges. We want to grow their money, but we also want to make sure that we don't expose their capital to too much volatility. And those things are sometimes counterintuitive. We've kind of managed to find a way around it. When we partnered with Fairbairn Consult, Guy, what was it, about, 2 years ago, give or take, 2 and a bit years ago, we said, let's make sure that we offer something to Fairbairn Consult financial planners that gives them the ability to manage client expectations in terms of the return outcomes, both locally as well as offshore. And incredibly importantly, offer them something that they can talk to a client in the retirement income space about. That's a high-level view of our range. I'm now going to stop talking because I've got 10 seconds left. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.